Welcome, everyone. It's great to be here with you live on LinkedIn Audio. Do tap your reaction button. Send me a reaction if you can hear me. We can't take for granted that people always can hear me. Oh, good. We've got some reactions. That's super helpful. I don't want to be talking to no one. Amazing. So, welcome to my LinkedIn Audio live show. Today we're going to be talking about how do I know if I need to work on my money mindset. Now, obviously, this is a topic that you may be familiar with already. It could be that you're coming to this completely cold. And the first thing I want to say about money mindset is that how do you know if you need to work on it? Well, basically, you do, because we all do. There is so many things that can give us baggage around money, especially as women. There are all kinds of cultural messages that are sent to us from the moment that we are first able to perceive them, about what money is, what money isn't, who has money, who doesn't. There are all kinds of societal values and rules that get shown to us all through our lives. And so the reason this becomes really, really important when you are building a business is that you can actually get to a stage very quickly where your own issues around money prevent money from coming into your business. I know, it's terrifying. So the whole idea with this is that money becomes something which you either allow yourself to receive, or because of stuff going on with your mindset, sometimes you can get yourself to a place where you just feel like I am not allowed to receive this money. And it can mean that we start behaving in slightly strange ways. So if you've ever had the situation of speaking to a prospective client and you're feeling like, do you know what, like I am 1,000% going to be closing the sale. It makes perfect sense. And you follow up with the client by saying something like, great, I'll send you the paperwork in the next few days. And then, we'll get you signed. Everything will go from there. And then for some reason that you're not sure about, you don't actually send the paperwork through. This is one of the things that is a real red flag for money mindset issues. And so often we can feel very straightforward about money and about our plans to make money in our businesses. But actually, there are situations, there are clients that I've worked with where their own beliefs around money can actually stop that business plan from being put into action. If you're listening to this live, do hit a reaction if you can relate to what I'm saying so far. Who's experienced money mindset, or has wondered sometimes if they might have something going on with their money mindset that makes it difficult for them to receive money. Does that resonate with anyone? Awesome. We've got some reactions. Thank you, guys. Now, if you would like to, you're very welcome to put up your hand and come up. I'm saying on stage because that's kind of what we call it, but it's not like a scary stage. It's a friendly stage. If you would like to maybe ask some questions about money mindset, or share some of your experiences that made you think maybe there could be money mindset issues at play, you're very welcome to raise your hand and come up on the stage, and we can have an interactive conversation. That would be super awesome. But some of the reasons that we can end up with money mindset issues can actually start very early in our lives. And so it's really common for people to say, we didn't have very much money growing up, or my parents were always very worried about money growing up. Like we can really receive these messages when we're young by observing what is going on in our family home and what the people around us are saying. I've talked on my podcast quite a lot actually about hidden scarcity. And that's a really interesting thing because this is the idea. So the concept is all about scarcity and abundance. If you've listened to my podcast ever, you'll have heard me talk about this because it's a really key thing. And there are all these beliefs that we can have about the world that are really, they come down to seeing the world through a scarcity perspective. And the thing that is huge about that is all these beliefs like the world is a scary place, you shouldn't trust people, money runs out. When you do life really thinking through scarcity, seeing the world through a scarcity lens, that is how everything feels. It feels like everything is always very precarious, like calamity is always around the corner, money is hard to come by, money is difficult to generate. And a really key part of building a business is learning to shift that scarcity into what I call abundance. And so you can switch these beliefs up. Literally, you can take the scarcity belief and just like almost flip it around and turn it to scarcity. So the world as a scary place becomes the world is overflowing with opportunities. You shouldn't trust people can be flipped into collaboration over competition. Have you heard people say that? It's that whole thing of like, instead of feeling like someone is your rival and you know that you're at war with each other and you're going to be stealing each other's clients, all that kind of stuff. Instead, you just flip that to be like, it's better if we find ways to collaborate and serve the same audience in different ways, or different audiences in the same ways, whatever it might be. But finding a way to collaborate and actually, instead of getting a smaller camp, making sure that you have a bigger one. But the idea that money runs out, that can be switched so that money is renewable and you can always make more of it. And I think that's a really important thing, because you never want to feel in your business like, oh my gosh, I just can't make money. Everything is going wrong. Everything is going to stop. And I think when I speak to clients who are having quite a lot of problems with their mindset, it can just be the case that actually they're starting to believe things about the world that are more to do with scarcity than they are to do with abundance. Like you can literally see the difference in businesses when you tap into abundance instead of tapping into scarcity. And one of the really important things with abundance and scarcity is that really a big change needs to happen when you start to grow a business. You need to reprogram your brain so that you run towards danger instead of running away from it. And I want to qualify that by saying we're talking about perceived danger as opposed to actual danger. So, but the principle is the same. Like if you see a risk, like it's a normal thing to be like, we're not going to take a risk that could be dangerous. And in some situations in life, that's completely true. You shouldn't take risks. Like it's a bad thing to be someone who has a high risk lifestyle. But at the same time, in business, quite often we need to do things which go outside of our comfort zone. And if we're constantly pulling back from those things, that's when working on your mindset can make a really, really big impact. Excuse me. But this whole idea of hidden scarcity, I've talked about that on my podcast before, and I think it's a really powerful thing, because I was watching two shows actually in the last 2 days, and I noticed that all of the humor in the programs was based around scarcity to do with money. And so one of them is Kim's Convenience, which is on Netflix. And I love that show. I love all the characters in that show. But like the drama is always about money running out. The drama is always about the fact that no one has any money. And if someone in the show gets money, they're going to lose it really quickly. And from a mindset point of view, it's really interesting, isn't it? Because like if we're always surrounding ourselves with TV, with LinkedIn, or like social media that like reflects these values, money is going to run out. If you get it, you can't hold on to it. It's very powerful. And it literally starts to affect how we feel. It starts to change the way we feel about our businesses, whether we feel like our business is viable in the first place, whether we feel like it's even worth getting out of bed in the morning. The other show that I watch quite a lot actually is Golden Girls. I love the 80s nostalgia of it. Like I was born in the early 80s, so like I was way too young to like be conscious of these things at the time. But I think it's like from a historical point of view, that sounds awful, doesn't it? But it's a show that I quite enjoy. But again, like there was an episode that I almost had to turn off the other day, because they got a winning lottery ticket and then they lost it and they had to chase around after it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't think I can cope with like the scarcity that is really coming across, because it's that whole thing of like, money is really hard to come by. You won't ever get money. If you get it, you'll lose it. Like these messages that we sometimes have stored away in our subconscious minds, they can be really, really powerful. They can stop us from doing all kinds of things. And the reason that I'm so passionate about scarcity and abundance is because so much can change in a business and in a person when you start to channel that abundance instead of the scarcity. When you listen to scarcity, you can just feel like, oh my gosh, like, what is the point to anything? Business is hard. I'll never make money. I'll never keep money if I do make it. Like, this will never work. You know, all of these different things that we can be telling ourselves. It's really powerful, actually, the things that we say to ourselves internally as we go about our working day, and even as we go around, our lives in the weekends. It has a really, really big impact, like what we believe. And part of working on your money mindset is starting not just to listen to these beliefs and be like, oh, I think I'm going to switch. I think I'm just going to listen to my internal voice and just be like, oh, what is the point? Like often in your business, when you feel discouraged, is because actually you're sending yourself all these negative messages all day long and really not knowing what is going on. But a really important part of mindset work is starting to not just take those at face value, but start to just question them and start to look at it and just be like, what am I channeling here? And I say to a lot of my clients, actually, and the women that I speak to, and I've said it on my podcast a lot, a really powerful thing to do is to stop just taking everything at face value that you're saying to yourself and really work through it. And instead of channeling that scarcity, start to channel abundance. Does that resonate? Like when you hear me talk about it, and I'm very open to questions on this. I don't know if you're listening and being like, oh my gosh, how do you even channel abundance? How is it possible to do that? Like some of these beliefs that we have, they are very, very deeply held. Like their roots go back very deep. But starting to see that and starting to change the way that we talk to ourselves about our businesses, about our opportunities. I often think that one of the most powerful things you can do if you want to improve your business is train yourself to start seeing opportunities instead of always telling yourself that nothing is going to change. That's a really, really powerful thing to be doing. It's something that makes such a big difference. If you get up in the morning, you just think, well, nothing is going to go well today. And like, actually, I read an article about this a while ago saying that the things that we quite often wake up in the morning and say are like, I don't have the energy and I don't have the time. And isn't that huge? Like if you're going through your whole day saying, I don't have energy for this, I don't have time, there's almost no point. There's nothing you can do. It's a very like powerlessness state of mind, isn't it? Like you're very helpless. It's almost like a victim way of seeing the world. But a really powerful thing to do in our businesses is to get to a point where we can just say, do you know what? There's so much that I can do. Like the number of opportunities available to me are actually, they're so amazing that it's quite overwhelming. And I think that's a really, really important part of what I want to say to you today. Is just be aware of what you're saying to yourself and start asking yourself, is that coming from scarcity or is that coming from abundance? Now, I know we've got a slightly smaller group today. I don't want anyone to feel like they're under pressure. If you would like to raise your hand and come on the stage and ask a question or make a comment, I'd love to hear what your takeaways are. If you're feeling encouraged by what you're hearing, if you're feeling like, I don't really know how to do this, it would be amazing. Sometimes LinkedIn doesn't quite play ball, and sometimes we can't get people on stage even if they would like to. I can't see any raised hands at the moment, but if you would like to come and be part of the conversation, then all you have to do is click on in fact, I can't see the exact button of what it's called because obviously I'm already on the stage because I'm hosting, but click on the button where it says raise hand, and then or ask to speak or something like that, and then we can let you come up on the stage. Amber, can you still hear me? I think you can.
I can still hear you.
That's encouraging. That's always encouraging. Thank you, Amber.
I think it is just a button that says raise hand.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. So if you want to, like, it's a very safe space on these calls that we do. So please don't hold back from coming and joining us on the stage and joining in the conversation. You know me, I can always talk more. I've always got more that I can say on pretty much any topic that I'm covering on my LinkedIn show. So I'd love you to be part of it if you would like to. I think one of the most important things with all of this is just starting to get to a place of confidence and almost a place of certainty where you can, instead of thinking, well, I'd like to do this, but I'm not sure if I can. I'd like to make 100,000. I'd like to make 1 million, but I'm not sure if I can. Instead of just always applying like doubt and uncertainty to that, experimenting with placing certainty on that instead. I think that can be a really powerful thing to do, and it can be really important actually. If you're sitting there, like I know some of you in this room, I know that there are big plans that people have for their businesses, and I think a really important part of just starting to step into that and make it a reality is to start with the mindset first. Often we think, well, I've got to start with the strategy. I've got to work out exactly what I'm going to do. But in a lot of cases, the reason that people aren't following the strategy that makes perfect sense and is completely within their wheelhouse. It can be for a variety of mindset reasons. Sometimes it's actually because you don't know what to do. More often, it's because you don't know if you can be a success at the thing that you want to do, and so you can be scared to experiment with that in case what if it doesn't work out? What if that's not the thing that is going to get you where you want to go? But I think it's also really important to be ready to receive money. I see this a lot with women. I see a lot of situations where, on paper, everything is perfect, everything should work completely in the business. But, like, because they are not comfortable with seeing themselves as being someone who can possess money, who can make money, I think it's a really big and overwhelming thing. And it's absolutely something that I've had to work on in my 8 years of running my own business. I think sometimes making a big amount of money in a short space of time can be a really hard thing to process if you're not used to those sums of money being associated with your name. And the thing I would say, if that's you and if you're struggling with it, is like really like work through some of the things we've already talked about, kind of the scarcity that we're feeding ourselves every day and the thoughts that we're having. That's a really important thing. Look at the things around you. Start taking notice of where you see it in TV and media and that kind of thing. Like what things are drip feeding scarcity to you all the time. But I think as well, start noticing where money is like coming in. Start noticing the unexpected places, because I think we can be really clever or really good at like discounting things that happen. Like, oh yeah, I got that contract, but like, yeah, that was probably always going to happen, and blah 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 blah. Or like, oh yeah, I got a tax rebate. That's good. Or we can start just making excuses for why things happen. Like the number of women that I speak to, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I was really lucky that that came off," and it's like, you weren't lucky, like you were very good, and that's why it happened. And so I think start like noticing all of the ways, because it's not just about our businesses; it is actually about our whole lives. So notice where money flows into you in your life. I think that can be a really powerful thing, because when we start to be aware of that, we can just realize, you know what, I receive money in various ways a lot of the time, so why wouldn't it come to me through my business as well? That can be a really powerful place to get to when you really are aware that not only do you possess the ability to create money and to generate wealth, like it's already happening. It's not something that will happen in the future. It's something that has already happened to you consistently throughout your life. And changing some of these big narratives that we can have about ourselves as being someone who doesn't have money, someone who is unlikely to make money, these are often labels that have been put on us by other people in our lives. And like actually we live in a time where it's very possible for us to change the situation that we've been brought up in. A lot of my clients are like struggling because they're in a place now where they're earning more money than their parents earned. And so just making our peace with that, because if you don't feel comfortable with it, if you don't feel like that is something that really makes sense, or that you can definitely achieve, then you show up to it, exactly what I was saying before, in that kind of uncertainty and not being clear, not being sure, not being confident that it's actually something you can change. I don't know if that's something that relates, but all of these things that I'm saying today, like I'm really, thank you everyone for being here and for listening to what I've had to say to you. Some of these things are just really important to deal with in a thought through way before they start to make an impact in your business, and before they start to prevent you from getting the outcome that you actually want to have. So I hope that's been helpful for just giving you a bit of an introduction to the topic, a bit of a primer, and maybe a gentle kick on the backside if that's what you needed. To just really be thinking, like, if you're not making the money that you want to in your business, why is that? Like, are you surrounding yourself with the right kind of messages, the right kind of energy, with abundance, not scarcity? If you're afraid to ask for what you want, how can you start to think bigger? How can you give yourself permission to be saying, actually, I want to make 7 figures, instead of like, oh, I want to make 40,000? Like it's all about allowing ourselves to experiment and think on a bigger stage sometimes. I think that can be a really important thing, but noticing these little ways, and I find it a really helpful thing sometimes, just write down a lot of the thoughts that I'm having, if it's to do with money mindset, if I'm feeling a lot of scarcity, because it's not something that you just go, oh, I'll flip a switch and now I just think in abundance. I wish that were true, but it's definitely not been true for me. I've grown up with a huge amount of scarcity, and I think a lot of us do. And I see, even with my children at school, quite often, school will say, don't use that nice card because we don't have very much of it and it's very expensive. Like they did a Christmas project and they rationed one little decorative bell per child. Of course, like my son wanted to do like 7 bells and got in trouble. But I was like, oh my gosh, like this is scarcity. But like scarcity can be a reality in certain situations, but you don't want to bring it into your business because it's very hard to grow a business if you're always trying to keep everything to an absolute minimum. It doesn't work to be holding yourself back in that way. And yes, of course, there is space for being prudent and making sure that you don't spend 100% of like what's coming in, that, you always want to have a profitable business, but it's getting that balance. And I think sometimes if we are so intent on just staying small and keeping everything like completely, as like spending as little money as possible, and I do think this can be more of a thing for women than it is for men, but we can get to a situation often where like we're not investing in ourselves, we're not giving ourselves the things that we need in order to be able to actually achieve what we want to in our business. And like there can be opportunities that like make perfect sense and we should be stepping into, but if we're just thinking about, no, I can't spend that money, I can't like invest that much or whatever it might be. And there are all kinds of ways that can play up. Sometimes it's like it's not working with a coach when we should, sometimes it's not getting a team when we should. There are all these different ways that actually, I mean, it could even be like not paying for a plane ticket to go to a conference that you should. There are all kinds of ways that it can really show up for you, but it's being able to prime yourself to look for the opportunities and to not be afraid of receiving money, and to challenge some of these beliefs that maybe have kept you very safe in your life up to now by always slightly being suspicious of money or thinking that it's something that people like you don't tend to have. Going against that, it takes a lot of courage, but the good news is that courage doesn't cost you anything. So it's absolutely something that you can make work for you. So I hope that you found that helpful. Like I said, thank you everyone for being here and listening. I'm not seeing any raised hands. You're very welcome to raise your hand and come and join me. I'd love to hear what your takeaways are, but if you have found this a helpful conversation, do drop me a reaction. Let me know that you're there. Otherwise, I feel like I'm just talking to no one. Oh, amazing. We've got some reactions. Thank you, guys. I think we will call it a day. Thank you for being here. I hope that you found it helpful. And if you want to talk to me about any of the things that have come up, then ping me a message on LinkedIn. Let's get the conversation started. Awesome. Oh, thank you for the reactions. That's lovely. Brilliant. Well, I will see you all soon.